that authority and reputation that Google wants to see. High authority, high value. We would rather go after less links that are much more powerful, have a lot more high authority, than going for thousands of spammy links that are going to drag you down at the end of the day. Getting links from those big publications has so much weight that Google just ranks your site so much better.
We've had people talking about, oh, well, SEO is gonna die with AI, and I've always laughed at that because what is the whole AI based on? Well, data and an algorithm. It's more relevant than ever doing SEO.
Yes. Welcome to DTC SEO Agency podcast number 2. Today we'll be running through
Link building.
Link building, excellent.
Yes, we're going to talk about links.
Fantastic, let's dive straight in.
Okay, so the first question I have for you today is, can you explain what links are and why they're important?
Yes, so essentially links are incredibly important for a website for SEO because you need to build up the reputation and authority with Google. So you can do that through content, yes, but at the same time, links add that authority and reputation that Google wants to see. It needs to be that connection and that recommendation from other powerful websites to your website to then piggyback off of that power. So the more high quality and authoritative links that you have, the more high powered and authoritative your website becomes. Therefore, Google sees your website as more powerful, more authoritative, and pushes you up in the search results because of that. So essentially, see them as votes of confidence. Links are essentially votes of confidence. So the more high, powerful, authoritative links that you have, the more confidence Google has around that particular search query, as long as you have a page that answers that particular question.
Okay, so can you also explain what link is? Like, what is a link?
Yeah, so basically, to boil it down, it is one website that has a clickable link anchor text that links directly to your website. So the URL of that link that might be inside of a blog post, navigation, footer, wherever it might be, when you click on that, the page that loads is your website.
Cool.
So essentially that is a link boiled down.
So we see them every single day when we read articles online and we'll read news online. You have basically in the article itself a few words that might be like read more here, or it might be linking out to another source, when you fact check things. That is basically the anchor text that is like highlighted in usually blue, and then you can click that and you go to another website. So that is the link.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's 3 main types of links that we like to put them into buckets of. There's like the first bucket of links is the spammy links. Those are websites that you do not want to get links from. That might be niches that are a little bit shady, casino, some crypto stuff, some more dodgy websites online that you don't really want to get a link from. Think of it as an association. You don't want to be associated with someone who's doing criminal activity, as an example. It's not good for your reputation. And think of links in the same way. We want to be getting links from websites that are going to have a big impact and a big power transfer to us, right? So you could see that as getting a recommendation from someone who was famous. A lot of people are going to look up to that person. Similar with Google, they're going to see that credit and that connection, as being a high authority, high value. So we would rather go after less links that are much more powerful, have a lot more high authority, than going for thousands of spammy links that are going to drag you down at the end of the day. And that is really why we focus a lot on digital PR, because getting links from those big publications has so much weight that Google just ranks your site so much better. It can trust your site so much more.
And we're starting off this episode, we're talking about like external links, like other website linking to your website. There's also internal linking that we're going to go into in the second part. So going back to then external links, other website linking to your website, what are some different ways to then build links?
Yeah, so a few different ways that we love to do is through outreach link building and digital PR. So starting with outreach link building, this is really where our team invests a huge amount of time. As I said, there's three main buckets of links, right? You have spammy, ones that do nothing, and the ones that really move the needle. And it's really that final bucket that we invest so much time into when we're reviewing websites that we would like to reach out to and say, hey, we'd love to have a link back to our website or our client's website. And that can be a number of things like, what is their backlink profile like? Is their traffic going up or is it going down? Do they have a load of spammy articles on the website? Is it all written with AI? You know, where's their traffic source? Is it the States or is it somewhere else? You know, all of these different things. What kind of keywords are they ranking for? All of these things are incredibly important, and they're all telltale signs on whether or not that link is going to give us the ROI that we want or not. So that's the first thing. Second thing is digital PR. Now, obviously, this is what you and your team invest a huge amount of time into, building relationships with different journalists, building and creating out different stories, different angles, working out the angle that the client's product and service could then fit in with a journalist, you know, post that they're creating and whatnot, and aligning those two together. So they're the two main ways. First one is great for targeting very specific product pages or collection pages, or just being a lot more targeted because we're more in control.
And also to mention along that, you know, those websites that we're then focusing on, they might already have content on the topics, and you know, sometimes they might cover like, 20 best products for something specific, and then some products go out of stock, you know, they need to update their content, and we then reach out to them and say, hey, actually we have this client that will be perfect to fit in your article as well. So it's very like organic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And then the second way for digital PR to kind of evolve a bit on that, there's different angles to do it in. There's one that's like data-driven stories. Basically, we're looking at interesting data angles around the client, so that's still relevant in their niche. Like, for instance, a client about candy, it might be like, which states eats the most candy? And then you drive into that and just create a data set, analyze from different angles, and then around holiday season is a big one. So getting products featured in there for our clients is obviously very important because it drives sales, and it also gets for a client and really builds their power. And then the final part is expert commentary. So that is then having the client or someone in their team featured as an expert, because journalists usually build up their stories with an expert backing up the angle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the biggest focus for us is not just getting featured in the article, but it's also getting the link from that article. And that's what a lot of PR agencies miss out on from an SEO standpoint. So that is one of the main reasons why we do digital PR, because we want the link.
Yeah.
You know,
and
being featured is a byproduct. Yeah.
We've also heard clients say like, oh, will the PR link remain or will it just disappear? Can you evolve a bit on that, why they've asked that question and how we do it compared to what they might assume a PR link is?
Yeah, so a big question that we get is, what is PR? Isn't that just a press release that you pay a couple of $100 for and now I get loads of links in? Well, yes and no. A press release is just that. $200, you get a bunch of random placements on a bunch of syndicated websites that do absolutely nothing. And then 3 months later, all those links drop off, and all of a sudden you have a massive negative signal because you have link loss in the hundreds, which is not good at all. So the digital PR that we're doing as we mentioned before, is the three main areas: the data-driven stories, the gift guide side of things, and then the expert commentary. So that takes so much time to actually go in, build those connections, create quality content for those journalists, and then eventually they then publish that content as well as. So it's not something we can just pay for and then it be done with. No. It is a big time suck relationship building, but ultimately it is worth it. Like the links that you've been getting lately have been fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also been a lot of expert commentary lately as well, and gift guides since we're going into that season. But the journalists really seek experts, all from SEO expert, right, that we're talking about right now, where they need someone to answer a few questions usually. It's usually 3 to 5 questions, you know, very quick, but it's about connecting with the journalist, and they can also trust that you are providing high quality information, because we are living in an age with AI, and never ever ever write an AI reply to a journalist. That is absolutely so important. They even say that to you. They're like, how can I trust that this is not AI? So you need to really build out that credibility, and also really don't ever use AI in the digital PR space.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to check out, we've actually just written up a case study on one of our clients. We got 50 or so links for them. I think there was 32, if I remember correctly, that were over DR70, which is huge. We've listed out all the different logos on there and the features that that you managed to get as well. I think that was within like a 3.5 month period.
Yeah.
50 PR links, which is nuts. So
yeah.
huge power. If you head over to DTC SEO Agency.com, click on case studies and read that one around digital PR, you'll be able to learn more information about that and how we can help. And just a side point on that, where you were talking about the expert commentary side of things. So we've now got it to the point where you make it as easy as possible for the client with the shortest amount of time and input from them. So we help facilitate all of these expert commentary requests that we're collaborating with journalists around, and then you're then helping out the client to reduce the amount of time as possible to then acquire that link from there.
And still give the value to the journalist, because at the end of the day, I fully see that. I think that's a side that people don't think about, is that they're usually writing so many stories per day, many articles, and they have such a tight deadline. So being quick on it, being helpful, that will take you very far in digital PR, and just bringing them the value and exactly what they're asking for at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yep.
Cool. And also a quick note, when Thomas said DR70 plus, he means domain rating. So that's a metric we're looking at from an SEO standpoint, basically how powerful a website is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a Ahrefs or Hrefs, however you want to say it, metric. Shout out to them. Fantastic SEO tool.
Okay, so now we talked about some ways that we're doing link building.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are some ways to avoid doing link building?
Yes, if you go to a website called Fiverr, you log on, you type in backlinks, and then you buy 5,000 links off someone for $50, and you think that's going to help, and that is going to have a big negative impact. So I think avoiding that kind of thing. Also, just don't cheap out with links. Like, if it seems too good to be true, it usually is. And if you don't have the understanding and the tools to look at and understand if that website you're going to get a link from is actually any good or not, you know, you're walking into a potential trip hazard, so to speak. So really educating yourself and understanding all of those different data points that we've mentioned. You know, how's the traffic going up, or is it going down? What are they ranking for? Does the website just have random articles all over it, or is it actually niche specific? You know, all of these different things are telltale signs, and it's really understanding all of that and only pulling the trigger on websites that you know are going to bring value to your website and not drag you down, because you don't want toxic links.
Yeah, speaking of, we just had a client today, we had a call with them, and we're currently working on recovering their website. So they had one of the most toxic profile ever seen, which is extremely bad. So you don't want to get to that point where your website is just a sinking ship at that point.
Yeah, they had like 5,000 or so toxic links. It's basically dragging their website down. Yeah, and unfortunately their previous SEO had created a disavow file that also included a lot of good links.
So what is a disavow file?
Okay, so a disavow file on Google is basically a list of websites or URLs that you're saying to Google, essentially, hey, we didn't build these, this is nothing to do with us, someone else has created these, can you please essentially remove them, remove the association from us to them. And usually Google does honor that to a degree. It depends how you do it. You have to do it in the right way. And there's not really that much instruction online about the right or wrong way to do it, which is very annoying. But it's all about working out exactly which links are bad and which ones are good. And honestly, it's a real fine line with that. But you can use things like link research tools is one of the biggest ones. Look at all the toxicity scores with that. And you're like pulling in data from like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Google Search Console, wherever you can find the links. You want to drag everything and pull everything together and then analyze all of those links individually. It takes so much time, but it's so worth it, especially if the site has such a high toxicity score that is what is dragging the site down overall. It can have a huge impact.
So overall, like tread very lightly when you're doing link building. Like it's really, really a lot of data about it to understand what is a good link and actually wanting a link from another website.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so just connecting a little bit more about like how links can impact a website. Can you share a bit about like what you've seen link building do? Like how many links would I need? How do I know how many I need, etc.?
Yeah, so in terms of how many links do we need, what we like to do is look at two main metrics. So if we're looking at a very specific keyword, we're then understanding, okay, who else is ranking above us? What is their overall power of their website? And how many links do they have going directly to that page? On a very, very basic level, that's essentially what we're looking at. Obviously, there's tons of other data points that we're checking in addition to that. But if we're looking at the core two from a link building perspective, that's what we're looking at. So, do they have 10 links and we have 1? Okay, well, let's have a look at their links. Just because they have 10 might not mean that they're all good. And then when you go in and look at it, you might find that actually they only have 2 good links. Okay, well, that's interesting. Now we need to do a lot less link building than we first thought. Next thing we're then looking at is things like anchor text. So let's say, for example, they had 20 really good links, or let's say 100 really, really good links. What percentage of those anchor texts, of those links, are targeted, branded, naked URLs, all of these different things? We want to understand how aggressive have they gone in terms of their anchor text. And what I mean by that is the main keyword that they're trying to rank for, how many times does that show up in their anchor text? So if 10 of their links have their main keyword that they're trying to rank for in there, that would be 10%. Now, if they had that and number 2 also had around 10%, number 3 also had around 10%, you kind of know that sets the expectation with things with Google that you need to be around the 10%. Now, if you look back historically, maybe a month or 2 months or whatever, and you see a site that was ranking really, really well, and now they've dropped, and you go in and look at their anchor text, it's most of the time, and especially if they have quite a lot of links as well, you look at their anchor text and you'll probably find that they are way over optimized by accident most of the time. So they have built so many links that look very deliberate to Google because they have such targeted anchor text. And it hits a point where Google's like, bam, red flag. We're now going to push you down for that because we can clearly see you're trying to rank for that keyword. So it's different things like that where you really have to analyze a lot of different data points just to understand what it might take to rank. So when a client says, how many links do I need to rank? It's not an easy answer off the bat, which is why we work in 90-day sprints so that we can go in and analyze each of the keywords we want to rank for, work out what the highest ROI is going to be. Okay, that's going to be 100 links to rank for that keyword, and what's the potential ROI? No, that's not worth it. This one, 10 links, and that's a huge ROI. Yes. So building out that 90-day plan is really what we put a lot of time into at the agency, and then we can be very dynamic and very fluid with that going forward.
Exactly. So we see link building as an investment. Each link is an investment into that specific page that we want to try to rank.
Yes.
What are some link building tactics that can help small businesses compete with larger brands? So let's say they can't get Forbes, for instance, like what can they do?
Okay, so from a budget perspective,
Yes.
don't try and rank. If you don't have the budget, sometimes you can't play in that playground. Essentially, that's what it comes down to. Because if you look at a certain keyword, you Google it, and you're like, okay, the top website is huge, the second website is huge, the third website is huge. They all have super high DR, right? That's way higher than yours. And their referring domains to each of those pages is also very, very high. On like a high level, that's a telltale sign that like that is going to be very expensive as an investment to try and compete for that particular keyword. So sometimes it is literally just not worth it if your budget is not there. If you do have some kind of budget and you are trying to compete a little bit more in a market that is a bit more realistic in terms of competition, from a digital PR perspective, I would try and do local PR, because building out a story about you as a founder and where you're located in your local town or city, like breaking into the features there is going to be a hell of a lot easier than trying to get national press with things. So there are tons of local radio stations, local news outlets that are really dying for a lot of content, fresh new content on some cool angle that you might have come up with around you and your brand. So getting quite creative and bootstrapping around that is going to take a lot of time, and you'll probably get a ton of no's, but the links that you might be able to yield from that are pretty damn good. Like, you can't buy a link in those placements.
Yeah. So link building is about a lot of rejections and not taking no for an answer, keep pushing through. It's the same in digital PR, you know, you talk to a lot of journalists, and sometimes even they start saying, hey, we're gonna cover you in this story, and then suddenly it gets dropped because the editor changed their mind and have a new strategy. So it is a lot of work. Link building is so much work, but at the end of the day, that's a key ingredient to actually make your website rank.
Absolutely.
So you really need to invest into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how has recent algorithm updates in Google affected link building? And can you also guide a little bit like what's happened over the years in terms of link building?
Yeah, so Google has got a lot better at understanding what a spammy link is. So they put a lot less weight on it, seemingly, now from that point of view. There's still a lot of people who try and get around Google's algorithms by, for example, using something like a PBN, a private blog network. And when you're doing link building, this is something really to be aware of. And when you start to understand the data a lot more, you're then able to pick out those websites a lot easier than you would have at the start of things. And essentially what a PBN is someone who owns a network of those websites. Because they own them all, they can easily just add links to all of them. But that is very, very risky because Google is obviously actively trying to find big link farms like that and de-index them, get rid of them. So if you go to a certain SEO agency, we won't name any names, they use PBNs, but it is such a risk because at some point, might be next week, might be 2 months, 5 months, whatever, if Google comes along and de-indexes the entire network, which happens a lot, then all of those links suddenly die, and it's literally like chopping 2 legs off a table. So you're going to go into a downward spiral with things. But Google is putting a lot more emphasis on bigger, high authority websites, and it's ranking those websites a lot better. There was a big helpful content update around, I want to say a year ago, maybe now, and that wiped out so many sites. And it basically pushed all the big websites, the big high authority sites above everything else and pushed everyone else down. So it's never been more important to have a really strong link profile of websites that are high authority, high power, linking directly to your site. And it's only going to be more and more and more difficult in the future with Google. So starting now and compounding that power, incredibly important.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention from Google's perspective, they value the user experience. Mm-hmm. So that's also what they remove those PBNs, because it's not actually focusing on user experience. It's just spammy, trying to get around the algorithm in some weird way. Instead, like, you know, if you have a client or if you're working in a specific niche space, let's say it's golf, you have a golf product, then connect with other golf websites, you know, and see, hey, we have this amazing product, let's get a link from here, etc. So ensure that you connect with websites that are actually relevant to yours, mm-hmm. and that is, you know, supporting the user experience from someone going to that website and maybe reading about your products, etc.
Yeah.
So that's very important. Cool. And now we've discussed the external linking. I want to go into more internal linking. So can you highlight a little bit what that is?
Yeah, so essentially internal links is links on your own website where one page simply links to another page. And the way to kind of view these is what would be helpful to the reader. So if you're reading a blog post and it's talking about goldfish and you have goldfish for sale, you might want to then link to your goldfish for sale. It makes sense. It's helpful for the reader. And what that also does is it then pushes relevancy to that page and it pushes power to that page. So you're connecting the two pages essentially. And internal links have different weights of power depending on where they are on the page. So if there's a blog post, we like to get the links inside of that blog post as opposed to, let's say, in the navigation is less weight, or in the footer there's less weight that Google puts to it. So you can get, very creative with it, shall we say. The anchor text makes a big difference and what you're internally linking to. So if you want to boost up certain pages, you can create a nice architecture of the site by linking certain pages that have high traffic, high relevance, and high amount of links to a page that you want to rank. And you can normally rank that page pretty quickly using that strategy.
Cool. How do you balance the need for backlinks with other SEO priorities, like content creation and technical SEO?
Good question. So this is where we really plan out the 90 days and in 90-day sprints for each of the clients. So when we onboard a client, typically they have quite a lot of existing pages that need re-optimization. So that is a higher priority than building new links especially right at the start, because if those pages are not optimized enough for certain keywords, those are things we want to go in and optimize right away, because they might be able to see quite a big jump just based off of re-optimizing. So in month one, we might put, I don't know, 40%, for example, into link building, and then the rest into re-optimization. It really depends on what the client's website actually needs. If, for example, they've already have a very optimized website, which has not happened yet, then we're going to put a lot more emphasis into link building from that point of view. So it really depends on what the client's website needs at that point in time.
And that's also why we avoid cookie cutter strategies where every single client is treated exactly the same, because every single website is unique.
Yes.
And I would also say that we do focus a lot on link building, because that's what powers the website once it is optimized and technically sound. That's really what it's going to come down to as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why if you just start doing a whole bunch of link building, but the technical SEO is all out, you know, the website's being blocked, some areas, and Google can't actually see it, or you have a ton of 404 errors, or whatever the case may be, you know, you're investing in the wrong thing at the wrong time. So you're going to get a bad ROI. And I think that's why some SEO agencies, like some clients who then come to us and say, oh, we were with this previous SEO agency, they haven't done anything and our traffic's gone down. And we start to then look at what's actually happened. We're like, oh, no shit, yeah. They're doing the wrong things at the wrong time. You know, it needs to be that you're setting up for success, first of all, doing the full site audit, whether that's with Screaming Frog, Ahrefs, SEMrush, whatever you want to use, to basically work out what are all the different technical errors, getting all of those fixed first, then looking at the next thing. Now, what's the next thing? Re-optimization, okay? And are there any other pages that we can build to target other keywords that are very similar to this, without the customer, without the client having to build and create new products for that, right? Again, a great ROI. Then we're looking at link building at that point.
Excellent. And that was the final questions. How are we optimizing for ChatGPT?
Yes, so this is a super exciting one. Obviously, ChatGPT is now linked to the internet. They've now built Search GPT, which is coming out / has come out. They've integrated it into what they already have. So we are working out how to rank our clients inside of ChatGPT, which is super, super exciting. We are already seeing referral traffic coming from ChatGPT and making sales for our clients. I just went into Google Analytics and I was looking at one client earlier. I know I sent you a screenshot on Slack. 25% conversion rate from ChatGPT. So I was like, okay, fantastic, this is awesome. And if you do a search for, what did I search for earlier? Best SEO agency for DTC, obviously we come up first, epic. So we're working out and understanding how OpenAI is curating certain lists based off of search intent, like my particular prompt, how is it pulling that data to basically show me the top 5 best products or the top 5 best websites or whatever it is. So very, very exciting. We're seeing success already, and we're going to be at the forefront of ChatGPT and search bots, essentially. I guess they're going to be called.
I love that. And it's also so interesting because we've had people talking about, oh, well, SEO is going to die with AI. And I've always laughed at that, because what is the whole AI based on? Well, data and an algorithm, right? And who has the biggest like data and algorithm, like what is this based on? Well, Google, right? So it kind of piggybacks on Bing, Google, all those search engines. It wouldn't just make a random answer up to that when it's now connected to the internet. So it's more relevant than ever doing SEO.
Yes. And all I want to say is links have never been more important on specific websites. So fun times. I'm really looking forward to it. We're actually adding that as a metric into our client dashboards as well, because we see there's going to be a lot more searches coming from ChatGPT, Claude, and the different AI search tools, Perplexity as well. So understanding and working that out for our clients before it goes full-blown mainstream is incredibly important, because we want to position our clients in the position of success and be there ahead of the curve. So I am super excited to work on this, which is great. So we're already starting to build a how-to guide essentially for that, which is excellent.
Excellent. All right, so that was this episode. In the next one, we're going to talk more about technical issues, fixes, what to fix, what not to fix, how to go on about it, because we have, I would say every single client, we do need to do technical stuff for.
Oh, yes.
So let's go into that and wrap it up for
That's
today.
your favorite subject.
Yes.
Excellent. Cool. And if you want to have a chit chat with us about your SEO for your e-commerce brand, feel free, head over to DTC SEO Agency.com, schedule a call with us, and I look forward to hopping on a call with you, and we'll see how we can help, and we'll have a great discussion about business, branding, and SEO, and how we can bring success to you. Thank you so much.